The dusty wind of the prairie carried whispers of secrets and strength, but for one girl, it also carried the sting of cruelty. Emily Harper, just 16, walked barefoot through the tall prairie grass, her long chestnut hair shimmering in the sun like a waterfall of fire. She was gentle, soft-spoken, and always carried the smell of wildflowers from the fields she loved. But while Emily saw beauty in the world didn't always return the favor. At school, she was an easy target, quiet, different, and too kind for her own good. The other girls whispered behind her back, mocking her handmade clothes, her boots worn thin from farm work, and the fact that she lived far from town in a small wooden house with her father. Her father, Daniel Harper, was a mystery to most. Folks knew him as a hard-working rancher, a man who kept to himself, but no one truly knew the depth of the man's past. Emily never spoke of it either. All she wanted was to blend in, to go to school, learn, and maybe one day chase her dream of becoming a veterinarian. But blending in was impossible when cruelty decided you stood out. It happened one Friday afternoon, when Emily was sitting under the oak tree at the edge of the schoolyard, braiding her hair the way her late mother had taught her. That's when Madison and her pack of bullies approached. Madison was the kind of girl who thrived on tearing others down, pretty, popular, and ruthless. She sneered at Emily's braid and said, "Why do you even bother? Nobody's ever gonna notice a prairie rat like you." Emily tried to ignore her, but Madison wasn't done. Before Emily could react, two of Madison's friends pinned her arms, and with a pair of scissors stolen from the art room, Madison hacked through Emily's braid. The sound of the blades cutting echoed like a gunshot in Emily's ears. When they walked away laughing, Emily fell to her knees, clutching the shorn braid in her hands, tears streaming down her face. Her long hair, something she had treasured, something that connected her to her mother, was gone. That night, she sat by the fire in silence, unable to meet her father's eyes. But Daniel Harper saw everything. He didn't ask questions right away, didn't press her. Instead, he quietly reached for her hand, rough from years of farm work, and whispered, "They don't know who they're dealing with, Em." The next day, word spread quickly in town about what had happened. Madison bragged to her friends, thinking no one would stop her. But Emily's father carried a weight no one could see. He wasn't just a rancher. Years ago, before settling on the prairie, Daniel Harper had been a decorated Marine, a man who had led soldiers through some of the hardest battles overseas. He had traded guns for plows, but the steel in his eyes and the fire in his heart had never dimmed. Emily didn't know her father's full story, only bits and pieces. She had no idea that the quiet man who tucked her in every night and sang her old country lullabies had once stood face to face with danger most men wouldn't survive. But that night, when he saw her broken spirit, something inside him shifted. He wasn't going to let the world crush his daughter. Daniel didn't go to the school guns blazing, nor did he raise his voice. He did something far more powerful. He taught Emily how to rise. The next morning, instead of hiding at home, Emily followed her father to the barn. There, he handed her a rope and pointed at a wild Mustang they had rescued months ago. The horse was untamed, fierce, and no one had dared ride it. "Life's like this horse," he said. "It'll throw you. It'll try to break you. But if you get back up, you show it who you are." It wasn't easy. The horse reared, bucked, and threw Emily into the dirt more than once. But every time she looked up, her father was there, nodding, steady as the mountains. And every time, she got back on. By sunset, the Mustang wasn't just calm, it followed Emily like it had always belonged to her. She stood tall, covered in dust, hair uneven and short, but with a fire in her eyes no bully could ever extinguish. When Monday came, Emily walked into school with her head high. She no longer hid behind her hair. Instead, she tied a ribbon around her chopped locks and wore them like a crown. The whispers began again, but this time, Emily didn't flinch. And when Madison tried to sneer at her, Emily looked her dead in the eye and said, "Cutting my hair doesn't make me smaller. It only made me stronger." For the first time, Madison had no comeback. The turning point came a week later at the county fair. Emily had entered the wild Mustang into the rodeo competition. The same girls who had laughed at her stood at the sidelines, shocked as Emily rode the once unbreakable horse with grace, strength, and fearless control. The crowd erupted in cheers, and for the first time, Emily wasn't the prairie girl to be mocked, she was the girl everyone admired. Madison's smirk was gone, and when Daniel Harper walked up to congratulate his daughter, some of the older townsfolk recognized him. Whispers spread through the crowd, about the Marine who had once saved men in battle, about the man whose courage had shaped legends. Madison and her friends suddenly understood. They hadn't just hurt some quiet farm girl. They had picked on the daughter of a man who embodied strength, discipline, and honor. But here's the thing, Daniel didn't need to lift a finger. He didn't need to scare anyone with his past. Because Emily herself had become the proof of his legacy. The bullies had cut her hair, but they couldn't cut her spirit. She stood taller now, not because of who her dad was, but because of what he had taught her, that real strength isn't about fists or threats. It's about resilience. By the end of summer, Emily's hair began to grow back, but she no longer counted the inches. She didn't need her braid to feel connected to her mother. She carried her memory in her heart, in the Mustang she rode, and in the unshakable courage she had found within herself. Years later, people in that prairie town still remembered the girl who had been broken and then rebuilt herself stronger than ever. And whenever a young child felt small, whenever someone thought the world was too cruel, Emily Harper's story was told as a reminder. You may try to break someone with cruelty, but sometimes, all you do is forge them into steel.